Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Well, with Wimbledon round the corner, what better time to talk about Björn Borg and how they use data-driven messaging to send relevant and targeted email campaigns. My name's Saima, and I am Practice Manager for Professional Services at Bronto Software. And I'm joined today with Noelia Guinon from Björn Borg, E-commerce Manager.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so let's start by talking about getting personal the right way by using data and personalization. So, what is personalization? We use this word quite freely and have been having to do so over the last many years. But what does personalization actually mean? Well, personalization is all about understanding who the customer is. It's about looking at the data that we have on the customer, real-time data, demographic data, behavioral data, contextual data, data explicitly given to us by the customer, and it's about doing something with that data. Then it's about understanding what content fits the customer. So this is where we tie in by looking at the data that we have. For example, calculating RFM, recency, frequency, and monetary value scores of our customers, and being able to dynamically populate content in their email messages. So for example, you're sending an email campaign, and you have calculated based on high order value customers, they would receive different content in the same email compared to low order value customers. So using this data to provide dynamically populated content in your emails. Then we need to understand when to reach the customer. So again, using the data that we have and turning that data into actionable insight, looking and seeing the best time to send our customer communications. And then we need to understand how to reach the customer. So this is really looking at the channel that's most appropriate to the customer. If we want to send an email campaign, ensuring that it's a mobile-optimized campaign to provide the customer with the best user experience. So ultimately, personalization is all about engagement and using data to really drive the engagement with your consumers. So 94% of companies have told us that they agree that personalization is key to the current and future success of their business. So we know it's important, and we know we need to do it. We also know that by engaging our customers through personalization, it will create better brand awareness, increase average order value, and in turn increase our revenue. However, 72% of these companies tell us that they do understand how important personalization is, but they just don't know how to do it. So one of the main challenges that companies face today is not having the right tools or the right technology to be able to use data-driven personalization and engage their customers throughout this digital dialogue. So with the tools that we have available today, so Bronto's integration with Magento, this is easy and effective to do. So what do our customers tell us? Well, they tell us that they want contextually relevant messages. So what does that mean? Well, contextually relevant messages is all about us providing some kind of engagement with customers based on an action that they've just taken and in the environment that they're in. So for example, a customer's on your website, they put some products in the basket, they abandon their shopping cart. We're then able to trigger an action and continue that dialogue and continue to engage with them and try to drive them back to the website. So with 70% of baskets abandoned today, it's ever more important that we use the tools available to us, use the data that we have in Magento to be able to drive these campaigns. 85% of shoppers tell us that abandoned basket emails are very helpful to them. And we see about 40 to 50% open rates, we see about 30% click-through, 8% conversion. So we should definitely be using the tools that we have to try to increase revenue and increase average order value by sending relevant and targeted messages. 61% of our consumers tell us that these cart reminder emails will actually drive them back to the website. Well, that's great, because let's say, for example, you send a cart reminder email and the customer isn't actually interested in those products anymore. By utilizing the dynamic content and including some additional information such as related or similar products, cross or upselling the products that they've abandoned in the cart, you're actually giving them a preview of additional products in your library and trying to re-engage them and send them back to the website. So what is personalization then? Well, it's all about engaging the customer with the right content in the right place at the right time across multiple channels and touch points. Personalization is actually the evolution of big data. So the last sort of 5 years or so, we've been talking about big data. What's big data? What do we do with it? How do we store it? What information can we get? And we've pretty much cracked that. We know where we're storing it now. We know what data is coming through. And now what we need to do is turn that data into actionable insight. And that's where we can utilize that data to engage with our customers through targeting and relevant communications to our customers. So personalization is all about guiding our customer journey. It's really helping us to define the different touch points that we have with our consumers, looking at the data that we have, demographic, historical, behavioral, data of what the customer is doing right now, and putting that into action with the right content, and then identifying and analyzing what comes from that data. So today, we're living in this customer-driven era. So customers are really taking charge. They're driving our product roadmaps. They're driving the products that we sell. They're even driving how we're managing our services. So it's ever more important that we need to win in this customer-driven era. And how do we do that? Well, it's all about personalization. So we need to build meaningful relationships with our customers. And we do that by utilizing the data that we have in Magento and really putting that into practice and targeting our consumers throughout relevant touch points in the customer journey. It's about the ongoing dialogue and the continuous engagement. So really, it all starts at the very beginning, that digital handshake. So when the consumer makes an order on your website for the first time, or the first time they sign up to receiving email communications, from that point, that digital handshake, from that point, we need to continue and engage in what we call a digital dialogue with a customer. And we need to continue that engagement through the relevant data that we have, and also showing them about the brand, making them aware of what we're doing, but intertwining that with the information we have on them, so it's relevant. And finally, it's about using the right technology. So our integration with Magento, it makes all of this happen in a seamless way. So now I'm going to pass over to Noelia, and she's going to talk to you about Björn Borg and how they're currently utilizing the Magento integration and driving relevant and targeted emails.
Thank you, Saima, and thank you for being here today. I actually woke up with no voice, so let's hope it holds for the upcoming minutes. So let's start by just explaining a bit about Björn Borg. Like Saima said, my name is Noelia, and I am the global e-commerce manager for the sports brand Björn Borg. Björn himself founded the company in 1984, and he rose to celebrity status by becoming the first professional tennis player that won 11 Grand Slam single titles, 6 at the French Open and 5 consecutive here in the UK at Wimbledon. And the characteristics of Björn is that he has an enormous winning attitude and a strive to never lose. And we sort of taken that into the company Björn Borg as well from the start, becoming the leading underwear brand in the Nordics and later on also in the Benelux. Today we are sold in over 30 markets, mainly in Northern Europe. And our strive is to create products that are striving to make you feel active and attractive while wearing them. In 2015, we took another step with the company, trying to transition the brand into sports, back to our roots in tennis again. Bjornborg.com is the digital flagship store being managed globally from the headquarters in Stockholm, Sweden, and serves both brand and commerce, and also projecting our brand values, crisp, dynamic, contemporary, and eccentric. The Björn Borg organization is divided into 4 different segments, serving wholesale, both physical stores and e-tailers, licensees for our product group, footwear and bags, our own 41 retail stores throughout Europe, and e-commerce through bjornborg.com on Magento Enterprise. This is our center court, to speak in tennis terms again. Our main markets are, as you see on the map, the red highlighted ones, with Holland actually topping the list, closely followed by Sweden and the rest of the Nordics. The black marked countries are upcoming markets that have been given local sites under bjornborg.com. We're growing outside of Europe, mostly in North America and Australia. And here we are actually the only sales channel through bjornborg.com. So our complexity starts actually with our business structure. Because even though our own e-commerce is in focus now, our biggest business area is still in wholesale. So if you would Google us, you will get a search result of various of different communications from our e-tailers, and mostly promoting different offers and mainly discounts. So how are we to transition the brand, but also building a premium brand that aims to have high sell-through in full price, while the norm is going more and more into price promotions? Well, let me start by explaining a bit on how we look on every project, task, or goal at Björn Borg. We have a very redefined framework where we start asking ourselves where we want to go. And from there, we establish where we are currently. Having those two set, we set our objectives of what we need to do to get there, but also how we should do them. And lastly, but maybe most importantly, we ask ourselves, why are we doing this? To what goal are we aiming for? So we started by defining our inspirational where of where we're going. And it's to become the #1 sports fashion digital experience, boosting, active, and attractive. And we sort of asked ourselves, how are we to do this? We have a pretty close time frame of this as well within the whole company, transitioning the brand into sports until 2019. So we sort of needed a new strategy here, because we couldn't be communicating as the leading underwear company, but we're actually now an underdog in sports. And the sports market, as you know, is very competitive. So we needed a completely new strategy here. So after a while, figuring this out, we came up with that we needed something to engage our consumers, not just by an e-commerce, but also adding a value beyond the shop. And by having this engagement, being able to interact with them, to finally establish a more personalized relationship that's beyond the promotion and discounts, and more of a want to be a part of the Björn Borg family. When we started up this project as well of sort of transitioning into a premium brand and into sports, we quite clearly saw that we needed the powerful tool to help us with these 3 focus areas: engage, interact, and personalize. We obviously knew the power of data, and that if it was used correctly, it could ensure those repeat orders that we also needed to build a profitable business. So we sort of looked at email marketing as a channel that we could own ourselves instead of competing with our wholesalers, for instance, on Google. And we also believe that this is where we can establish this more personalized relationship. Looking at the setup that we had previous, it was not integrated with Magento, for instance, and we also had the newsletters provider in one place and then the transactional emails in Magento. So we clearly saw that we needed to change this and started a long research period and finally ended up with Bronto that we are now using as of May of last year. One of the main reasons, and also in the end the success factors in this project, was that we wanted to introduce both new prospects but also old customers of our transitioning into sports, and we wanted to have a clear brand alignment through all our digital channels. And we thought the best way to do this was to define an email marketing strategy. We also knew that the transactional email has the highest opening rate, so why not use these to both be relevant and personal, but also to establish more of a loyalty here by having our imagery in all our digital communications. So this is how our newsletters look today, and we have currently 200,000 subscribers to our newsletters. We send them out weekly on Mondays and on Saturdays. The Monday email is mainly brand communication and marketing activities, whereas the weekend email is 100% sales. When we looked at how much we were actually sending out, we concluded that we send out approximately 20 million promotional emails in a year. And I mean, we're a fairly small company, but for us, this is one of the biggest channels for us to reach out to both new prospects, but our existing customers. What we did just recently is that we also redefined the newsletter and the templates into 3 focus areas, as you see here. So we have the brand communication email that's based a lot of imagery, great images, and not so much maybe copy. We have the storytelling, which is also fairly new to us, where we have sort of mini campaigns reflecting both in the newsletters but also on site. And the product focused email that's 100% sales, where we sort of focus on a product category or a product launch like this one. That's actually for Björn's 60th birthday. That was this year. And looking at some of the results that happened, because if we look at the previous provider, we also had a lot of deliverability issues. For instance, we had a lot of soft bounces, and in the end, we actually wasn't whitelisted in a lot of major email clients. And that obviously affected deliverability, but also the growth in the database itself. And in the end, the revenue was going down quite rapidly. So we knew we need to change this. And after implementing with Bronto, it's clear to see after 6 months that we had turned this around. As you can see, the deliverability was up at 75%, but maybe more importantly for us also, the click-through rate, 83%, 12% more conversions through the marketing emails than from our previous provider, and coming with that, a revenue growth of 66%. As of last year, we also decided that we wanted this brand alignment through all our communications. So we actually turned to Bronto to see if we could send out all our transactional emails through them by this integration with Magento. And as you can see here, it's been quite successful as well, because now we have an easy way to communicate, and it's clear that it's from Björn Borg, and we can change this depending on the season and the collection. So we have this brand alignment 100% through all our marketing emails today. But we also have one place for all the statistics, so we can follow up and continually improve. And obviously, like I mentioned before, the deliverability as well, as we needed a stable provider for this. What you see here is an order confirmation, where the order info and shipping details is fed in from Magento, and the product images is from Adobe Assets. But we didn't stop there, because as I told you, our third focus is personalization. And we needed an easy and clear way to introduce new prospects into our brand, but also to assure that existing customers got an education that we were no longer just an underwear brand, but also a sports fashion brand. So we launched what we call the Welcome Series. You see the first one here. The Welcome Series is a set of 6 different emails with a total duration of 2 months upon completion. And for us, this was an easy way to introduce the different aspects of the brand and highlight different areas. But also, like I said, the sports transition. To go in a bit deeper, everyone that's introduced to the Welcome Series get this first welcome to Björn Borg, with the usual access to your account and general information. And then depending on the behavior within the Welcome Series, you get either a little bit of history in our heritage in Björn, or like the third one in the middle is what we call the hit list. It's a product recommendation based on either bestsellers, trending items, or news. Looking at the other emails within the Welcome Series, we also focus on product categories, talk about functionality, and also a bit more about our transition into sports. So looking at the results after implementing the Welcome Series, it's even clearer that this is a very easy setup for us and very easy introduction into the brand, but also serving great KPIs on our sales targets. Opening rate here compared to our weekly newsletters is actually 137%. Click-through rate even better, 232. Conversion rates is up by 21%, and probably the best result for us is the revenue is up by 217, because the end goal here was obviously to get that first order from the new prospect, so it clearly worked. But we haven't actually stopped working with our email marketing since we did this case study with Bronto. We continued to launch a post-purchase series, and we can clearly see here as well that we have raised our return rate with 51%. And as I think most of you know, that average order value and conversion rates are higher on returning customers. This is also another great way for us to hit our sales targets and continue the growth within the email marketing channel. With only a couple of months since launched, we're seeing some good results here as well. Opening rate almost 50%. Click-through rate almost 17%, and conversion rate 10.5%. So to recap what we've done since we started working with Bronto and integrating our emails with Magento, we have been able to engage our consumers by redefining and simplifying our marketing emails. And we have also been able to interact with our consumers and introduce them to the brand in an effective way through the Welcome series. And finally, we have been able to use the data from the transactional emails to start having a more personal communication through our transactional emails. So what's next for us? Because we will not end with what I've shown you today. Next up this year, we will launch a cart abandon series, which Saima talked about as well. And also, we will launch trigger mails based on product recommendations on site. And that's all for me, and I hope you found some of the learnings useful. And over to you, Saima.
Excellent. So just before we wrap up, do we have any questions from the audience? Got a couple of minutes. Yeah.
Hi, yeah, just interested to understand the rationale behind the email campaigns going out Mondays and Saturdays.
Sorry, I didn't catch the first.
The rationale behind the sending the emails out on Mondays and Saturdays. Yeah.
On just Mondays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we sort of looked at statistics and when they sort of did the best job. And we usually launch the marketing campaigns on Monday, so that was pretty clear that we should activate together with all the different other channels, for instance, retail and the major brand campaigns. But we also needed that sales boost. And for us, Sundays is the best sales day. But so we usually send out on Sundays. But by sending them on Saturdays, we actually sort of prolonged the weekend. We got better sales due to that.
Great, thank you. Okay, so just to wrap up then, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. If you'd like to collect a copy of the Björn Borg case study, please come through to the Bronto stand next door where you'll see all the dinosaurs for your copy of the case study as well as an inflatable Bronto. Thank you very much.